what's up, Earth? It's Spaceman Matt here now to talk about the Sixth Doctor, streaming on Tubi for free if you live in the United States. The Sixth Doctor played with Colin Baker, and he's joined with Perry, played by Nicola Bryant, who was carried over from the Peter Davidson episodes. This Twin Dilemma was actually shown at the end of the Peter Davidson season, so we got to see the Sixth Doctor right away. You didn't have to wait until the new season started, so you got to get to know the Sixth Doctor. So this episode's pretty much not well received. I think it's okay. It's nothing special. This features another renegade Time Lord who we haven't seen before. He's called Edgeworth, and then he's called Azrael or something like that, or Asmel. And he kidnaps two twins to help this creature named Nestor, I guess, procreate. He has a whole bunch of eggs that he has to somehow get fertilized or activated by radiation so he can make babies, I guess, or it can make babies, whatever it is. The creature design was pretty bad. The twins, the two actors who played the twins, weren't really actors, and they were quite annoying. And it has a lot of problems. This episode, I thought overall it was interesting, and also we have Colin Baker, who decides to play the Doctor a little differently. In this episode, he's still getting his footing as the Doctor, but he kind of turns psychotic a little bit, tries to kill Perry, and it's a little wacky in this episode. He kind of adjusts at the end, and it's an interesting choice that they made. He decided to play it as a more acerbic character, a more difficult, not so personable version of the Doctor. And I think he would have been a lot more successful if he had maybe a more traditional male hero to play off. Like the second Doctor had Jamie to play off, and they kind of complemented each other. But they had an interesting dynamic, Jamie and the second Doctor, which unfortunately Colin Baker didn't have, because he didn't have another male companion. And while Nicola Bryant was lovely, she didn't really provide the right contrast, I think, for him, unfortunately. So the Twin Dilemma you could probably skip. Okay, then we're going to go to the next season. And Attack of the Cybermen. This was an interesting one in that the Doctor is able to repair the chameleon circuit, and this is kind of a sequel to Tomb of the Cybermen, because they return to Telos. And I'll show you the image of they had the cyber controller, I guess, from Telos, and there's the same actor who played it in the original episode, Tomb of the Cybermen. So this features Michael Kilgariff returning as the cyber controller, which he played in the original Tomb of the Cybermen, and this is also set on Telos. And it introduces a new race called the Cryons, who designed all those the freezing chambers for the Cybermen. So the most interesting thing here, I think, is, and it also brings back Lupton from the Peter Davidson Dalek episode. So he's back helping the Cybermen, and he winds up getting converted by the cyber controller. It's funny, Michael Kilgariff put on some pounds there, and you could see that he's not quite in great shape. And I thought that was kind of off-putting, but other than that, it's kind of an interesting episode. It's probably worth watching. Vengeance on Varos I didn't care for too much. This features an alien named Syl. I forget the whole details of the plot, but a lot of people thought it was a good prediction of the future, and that they have a part of the action is people watching the leader from home, the leader of and they can vote whether they want to keep him or not. And if they don't want to keep him, they kill him. So it's kind of a little precursor to the internet. So things are kind of headed in that direction, I guess, with the internet. I think maybe, I don't know. You tell me. But I think this is a skippable episode. I don't think it was very well done. I think Perry gets converted into like a bird-like creature. It's kind of crazy, but everything works out in the end. Next is Mark of the Rani, which introduces a new renegade Time Lord called the Rani. She was an invention of Jane and Pip Baker. This is the first script that I think that they contributed to Doctor Who. And this was quite good, actually, although her plot is to she's in like 19th century London or 19th century England, and she's looking to extract the chemical that allows people to sleep directly from people's brains in the 19th century. Meanwhile, she could have went into the 20th century and gotten melatonin. I don't quite get it. She needed the sleep chemical in order to control some aliens she had on under her power in another world that she conquered. The thing about the Rani here that tried to make her a little different than the Master, I think she was supposed to be a scientist without scruples, or scientist without any type of moral compass. So she did whatever she wanted in the name of science, truly like a mad scientist. Whereas the Master was also in this episode is more straightforward, just crazy and evil, and just this evil for evil's sake. So that the Master and the Rani have a bit of a confrontation, and the Doctor's involved. And I thought it was a really good episode for something set in the past. Rani has a really cool TARDIS. She kicks the Master in the nards. So, in case you're wondering, Time Lords have nards apparently. It was quite entertaining, I thought, and I think it's one to watch. Next, that's followed by the Two Doctors, which features Patrick Troughton comes back, and he's my favorite, one of my favorite classic Doctors. And this was I don't think he was well utilized. It's an okay script that involves the Sontarans wanting to steal the secret of time travel. And they team up with this guy Dastari, who's a scientist, and he's augmented these aliens called androgums, and he's using them to, but they have like a violent, primitive nature, so that's a problem. To control them, even though he's increased one of their this actress who was in Blake 7. He increases her intelligence, and Jacqueline Pierce, that's the name of the actress, and she's a super intelligent androgon, but they still have those violent, evil tendencies. So it's a back and forth with the Sontarans, the Doctor, and Jamie is his companion in this episode. And Doctor and Jamie are looking rather older than they were when they appeared in the show 25 years earlier. Or 20 years earlier. So it is kind of a little distracting, but although I love the second Doctor, I don't think he's well utilized in this episode. Next is Time Lash, which the Doctor befriends H.G. Wells in this, and they get into this adventure on another world. And I forget the overall plot of it. I think it's a skippable one, and I love it. But I think there's enough interesting aspects that you might find it. It interesting. I don't know. Then this is probably the best episode of, if you're going to watch one Colin Baker episode, this is probably the one to watch. Revelation of the Daleks. So this features Davros on a planet, a mortuary planet. I guess where all they do is perform funerals for prominent people across the universe, but Davros is secretly converting the superior people into Daleks, and then the other people they're selling the bodies off as food to feed other starving space colonies. This young lady who has a crush on the head mortician, and but then she teams. But since her love with the head mortician is unrequited, and it's the guy from Keeping Up Appearances. I forget it. It's Bouquet or Bucket, Mr. Bucket from Keeping Up Appearances, and he plays the Joe Bell, I think, the head mortician, and this young lady's in love with him, but it's unrequited, so she teams up with Davros to get her revenge on him, and nothing works out in the end. There's Alexei Sayle plays this funny DJ character. That's probably one of the highlights of the episode. And he has like a sonic weapon that he can blow the Daleks up with. I thought that was kind of cute. He was playing like Jimi Hendrix in the background, and like Blue Suede Shoes, I think, versions of those two songs are playing in the background. And he's like a DJ who just happens to like 20th century music, so it was kind of funny. So a lot going on in this episode. I thought this was overall pretty well done. And if you want to watch one Colin Baker episode, I think this is the one to watch. Then, unfortunately, the show was put on hiatus. Looked like it might be a permanent hiatus, but I guess John Nathan Turner and fans got together. John Nathan Turner is the producer of the show, and fans got together and they did like a Feed the World record. One of those where they got some pop stars to sing about bringing back Doctor Who, which was a trendy thing to do back in the 80s. So they got them to bring the show back for a trial episode. Depending on how that did, they would bring it back for some more seasons. So we know what happens after this. So we get Trial of a Time Lord, which was the original concept. It was came up by Robert Holmes before he died, and he had been, I think, instrumental in creating a lot of the Doctor Who mythology that we know, the Time Lords and all that stuff. A lot of it comes from Robert Holmes. This introduces the villain, the Valeyard, and I think most of this is skippable. I think you could skip right just watch the last two episodes. So these last two, the Ultimate Foe, I guess the episodes that are called the Ultimate Foe are probably the ones to watch. I would skip the Vervoids, which are these plant-like creatures. I'll put an image up like on there. And the first one is the first set of stories is about Earth becoming a planet called Ravalox and moved out of the solar system, and because they're hidden by the Time Lords and they're doing something fishy there. And there's a giant robot. That's probably the most interesting thing of the story, but it's skippable. Then they bring back Syl, and this is like Syl's king or whatever, boss, and they're trying to get him a new body or something. And this is a very skippable episode. And Terror of the Vervoids are these giant plants that are, and this was nothing too interesting. So everything is explained in like the last two episodes, where a trial called the Ultimate Foe, where we find out that the Valeyard, who is played by Michael Jason, who just died recently. The Valeyard is actually the amalgamation of all of the evil aspects of the Doctor into one being, and the Master explains it, but doesn't explain how he came to be. The Valeyard wants to take over Colin Baker's body so he can become the Valeyard earlier, I don't know, this would create a paradox or something, but I guess he's worked his way around that. Um, but of course, he doesn't succeed. Um, this season introduces Bonnie Langford as Melanie Bush, uh, who is a computer programmer from Peace Pottage. A lot of people don't like Adric, but I really never cared for Mel very much. She was kind of between her and everything else going on with the show. I think it was an indication that to me that John Nathan Turner didn't really want to continue with the show anymore, but they wouldn't let him go. They wouldn't find another producer. They said, "No, you got to produce it if this is gonna stay on." He did the whole uh, charity event to get this back on, Doctor Who back on. So you're gonna stick with it, and so I think he just stuck with it and just did a mediocre job because he wanted to get out, but the show it did well enough in the ratings that they picked up 3 more seasons, but they said, "Oh, you know what? You got to fire Colin Baker. He's not working out as the Doctor. We don't like him, so you got to cast a new Doctor." So Colin Baker was the first Doctor that was actually fired, not just have his contract ended at, when he wanted to end it, and and you'll notice I'm not a big Bonnie Langford fan, and you know I've been every time I mention that on social media, there'll be somebody that says that will attack me, and you'll notice Spaceman Matt doesn't get too many views or comments. But I bet you any money somebody's going to comment on how wonderful Bonnie Langford is. She has either got an amazing publicist, or very rabid fans, or a rabid husband, or somebody that goes after anybody that says anything nasty about Bonnie Langford. But I really never understood the appeal of her. If she has any appeal, I don't know what she's done outside of Doctor Who, and I think they brought her back for New Who, and she looks a lot better with a normal haircut, with a normal hairstyle. But they didn't do much with the character. It was kind of disappointing. Um, but I'm not surprised. Anyway, so that's it for Colin Baker. We can move on to Sylvester McCoy for the next installment there. So it would be a big help if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you next time with the 7th Doctor. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.
Subscribe to Spaceman Matt's Sci-Fi vlog today. The fate of the world depends on it, I guess.